the Knox Morrow Athletic Report. Still only one undefeated and still only one winless team. Let's take a look at the KMAC standings for the footballs right now. And you already know the Golden Knights.
Golden Knights.
One of the best teams maybe in the state, bro. Like this team, they've got it going on. They've scored 41 plus in 5 of their last 7 games, which is all of them, of course. And outside of that Centerburg game, they've only allowed 33 points. So you look at their next 3 weeks, as I'm sure you already have, they've got the 3 bottom feeders in the league, Mount Gilead, Cardington, and Loudonville in order. This is their best chance ever to go 10-0, something that has escaped them always.
And please don't kill me, Northmore folk, but this is probably going to happen. You want to know why, though? Mount Gilead, Cardington, Loudonville do not pass the ball well.
Okay.
Mount Gilead, Cardington, Loudonville do not have good pass defenses.
Nope.
Northmore, offensively, 1,500 passing yards, 19 total touchdowns from A.J. Bauer. And you saw against East Knox another game that we thought was going to be a good one. They just, the second play from scrimmage, Jack Swanger just went off down the field. 3 times, he just took off, wasn't guarded, wide open because of that speed. But this is the year that this could happen. Northmore could finish top 5 in the AP poll. They could very well finish number 1 in their region as well. This is lining up to be very favorable for the Golden Knights. It's just me saying it as a media person. Knock on wood again. Don't overlook your next 3 games, though. You play like you've been playing the last 7 weeks, you'll be fine. But if you overlook one of these 3 teams, it may be like the last few years where they stumble.
We'll look at that logjam now that you've given a nice bit of bulletin board material to all those teams on the waiting list there. So let's look at Danville. They've won their last 2 following that big loss at Northmore. They've outscored Loudonville and Cardington 56-8. They're taking care of business. 2 tough ones on the way, Centerburg and Fredericktown, that are all sitting there at 3-1. Oh, speaking of the Freddies, their 3 losses are by a combined 24 points. I'm looking at it right now, Travis, and they only lost by 13 to Northmore. They gave them a pretty good game. East Knox coming up next, then at Danville. 2 tough games. And speaking of those dogs, just suffering their first league loss last week. You've seen it versus Northmore, 42-0. I don't think a lot of us really anticipated that it was going to be that lopsided. Nope. At Fredericktown, at Centerburg coming up next. So all those teams sitting at 3-1, they all play each other coming up here over the next couple of weeks, including the Berg. And since week 3, I like this stat, Travis. They're averaging more than 38 points per game.
Yes.
Their only loss coming to Northmore gave them the best game that the Golden Knights have had all year. But then their next 3 weeks, this is what's fun, at Danville, then at home in the heart of Ohio against East Knox and Fredericktown.
So Centerburg kind of reminds me of what Northmore was last year. Northmore gave Danville its toughest test before Danville went undefeated and made that run to the regional championship. Northmore as well caught fire towards the end, ran the table after that, made it to a regional semifinal. I can see Centerburg doing that. I can also see Centerburg, if you're a Northmore fan right now, you want Centerburg being on the opposite side of the bracket when these regional, at the end of week 10 when the playoff brackets come out, because I do not want to see Centerburg, especially in the first few weeks. There very well could be a couple upsets by the Trojans where you see a Northmore Centerburg regional championship. That's just KMAC Trav talking right now, but how awesome would that be? Because I know Coach Coelho's squad's chomping at the bit to get back at the Golden Knights after they almost got the dub there. But Fredericktown East Knox real quick, that game, big for playoffs. I believe Fredericktown and East Knox in their region are towards the bottom. They're towards 15 or 16.
Yeah, they both need wins.
Need this win. Fredericktown's 15th. East Knox is 17th right now. So the winner of this will have good playoff hopes. But the loser is going to have to do a lot. But still, a rivalry game that will get you playoff points. But whoever's going to win this game, they'll be sitting pretty to have themselves a chance of making the postseason.
Not sitting pretty right now. All those teams at 0-4. The good news is they get to play each other here. So Loudonville, even though you're winless right now, they finally put up more than 1 score last Friday for the first time since week 1. So trending. Got to go on the road, though, the next 2 weeks. Cardington and Mount Gilead away from home. And then you look at MG. They've lost 4 straight since league play started. They've disappointed me. I thought we'd get more from the Purple People Eaters.
Me too.
They got to go to Northmore this week. Don't love that. And then they do have Loudonville, though, of course, coming up after that. And then Cardington, last team here. Hasn't won a KMAC game yet, of course, after their 2-1 start. Loudonville and then at Northmore. But like I said, something's got to give. One of these teams is going to start getting some wins here over these next couple weeks.
For Mount Gilead, win out, they're in because of the bonus points from Northmore.
Ding.
But if they follow the Golden Knights, they have to win their last two and get some help. There's still a chance that Mount Gilead could make its second ever playoff appearance, but they got to play strong football in weeks 9 and 10 especially. And if they can get the upset against Northmore, they control their own destiny. But even if they drop this Friday's game, they can still have a chance. Yes, I'm saying there's a chance if they win their last two. Loudonville, Cardington. Cardington's got a really good running back. We'll see in the stats here. Loudonville's got a really good wide receiver, but that's pretty much all they have right now. Young squads, though, just keep playing football, boys. You know, this season might not be it, but what you have building might see that down the line here in a year or two.
Let's take a look at some of the stat leaders. Now, let's begin with rushing then, since we've got a couple of birds out there making some appearances, and we've known traditionally the KMAC to be kind of a rushing type of conference. Only 2 players so far have broken into those quadruple digits. Blake Elliott leading the way, no surprise, but a lot of other guys out there. Blake Sipes impresses me because he's a quarterback, man.
Yep.
He's out there. He's almost got 1,000 yards, leads the league in touchdown rushes with 12.
Yeah, and that Fredericktown squad with him, I mean, the dual threat quarterback and Sipes, they got a good wide receiver as well. But out of that, that's why he has so many rushing yards, because they need him to run the ball. But nonetheless, it's very impressive behind Wyatt Denny. That's the Cardington running back we've been talking about, over 1,000 yards. Blake Elliott, he put up 300 yards in back-to-back weeks.
Crazy.
Had some big yards at the end of the Northmore game to get him over 1,000 yards. Congratulations to him for another 1,000-yard rushing season. But the Bulldogs too, they need a good game from him coming up this week just to be able to bounce back against Fredericktown. So you have the number 2 and 3 runners, quote unquote runners, since Sipes is a quarterback, going up against each other. And Cam Vickers, Mount Gilead, they got a power rushing attack, but they need to get the passing game going to be able to get those numbers up.
And you got to get in the end zone. Only 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Ain't gonna cut it.
Aiden Burke doing what he needs to do for Danville, because they have enough balance rushing-wise. Hackman can run the ball. He can throw the ball a little bit. So Danville looking pretty, especially with the region they have. It's very favorable for them, too, if they can win out. But they got Centerburg and Miles Marshall right down there. Miles Marshall dropped down because they didn't need him last week. They used the passing attack. If you watch the pigskin, about my 9 highlights I had, about 7 of them were passing touchdowns on screens and stuff. So he got some scores there, but it was in the passing game. So Miles Marshall drops down. Chris Marshall, the brothers, right? The brothers Marshall doing things on both sides. So he might have dropped down in the rushing leaders, but he's still very valuable in their win last week.
Let's take a look now at the receiving leaders so far in the conference. Chris Marshall probably got to be in there, right? After all the big catches he had.
Trevin Harris, though.
Because Northmore's dominating, stealing most of the slots.
Yeah, Josiah Hirschberger. I said the one big player for Loudonville. 500 yards receiving, 38 catches, only 2 touchdowns, though. But then there you have it. Big play Bo, Cohen Becker, the Tavon Austin of the KMAC, and then Jack Swanger, welcome back into the list after a 200-yard performance, 3 touchdowns against East Knox. Brody Davis of Fredericktown. There's the one wide receiver from Sipes that can put up numbers. And then Trevin Harris. I figured he would make it into this list at some point this year because he is such a big play candidate for Centerburg. But with the Marshalls coming out as well, right behind them is Chris Marshall. So Centerburg, like I said, they got that balanced passing attack, and they're the toughest threat to Northmore moving forward if they make it back to seeing each other in the playoffs.
1,200 combined yards between those 3 Golden Knights wideouts. But who's throwing the rock? Let's take a look at the quarterback leaders right now. In the Knoxmore Athletic Conference, no surprise, A.J. Bauer. The completion percentage is just filthy.
13 of 13 against East Knox.
Stop it, man. And then the 19 touchdowns, and you noticed all those wide receivers at the top of the charts there for the Golden Knights. They each were bringing in quite a few tutties. Beyond that, Blaine Ball throws a pretty nice sharp spiral as well. And then Lexter, after missing that 1 week, he's bounced back. I think there's about 5 pretty quality quarterbacks in this league.
There are. A.J. Bauer also only 2 full games played. 1 game he made to the third quarter against East Knox, and all the others only in 2 quarters. So that's why the completion and attempt percentage is down. But look at the yards he still puts up.
Crazy.
And that's great. Blame ball, Centerburg, like we said, throws a great ball. Jax Lester, if he played all of his games, he'd be probably ahead of ball and fighting with Bauer for the top spot. And then I like what Blake Sipes does. I just wish Blake had a couple more receivers, because Fredericktown would be really good if they had just maybe a receiver or two more. Dylan Wade to Loudonville. Him and Hirschberger have the hook up. He can throw it, check it down as well. And then Jacob Hackman, again, from Danville, doing what he needs to do. They did drop a tough one to Hopewell. They dropped the one to Northmore. But other than that, they're playing Danville football. And like I said, they've got a good shot at being a top 4 seed in the playoffs and then maybe making another one of those Danville tournament runs.
Yeah, Coach Bloom will have them ready to go when the tournament rolls around. Let's take a look at volleyball now, where two dominant teams will determine a KMAC championship live and free later this week.
Wait tomorrow.
Fredericktown and Centerburg, of course, for the Freddies, 6 straight sweeps since they lost to Centerburg.
And we're swept.
At Cardington tomorrow, then they wrap up the season on Thursday versus those Lady Trojans, whose only losses on the season continue to be the same. I feel like I haven't had to change my notes at all. At Olentangy, who's D1, at Heath. Other than that, they have swept everybody else on the calendar. They've won 51 sets, Travis. They have only dropped 6, and those coming in those 2 matches. Absurd.
Phenomenal. I mean, this is a team that will take advantage of the multiple divisions added into volleyball. We'll see that later down the road here in the podcast when we show the brackets. But Centerburg is actually they're set up to not only win the KMAC outright, but they could be a district champion, at least a district championship contender. I should say at least, because they could make a run. You never know if they keep playing what they're doing. Fredericktown, they could be favored in their bracket as well. 11-1. They're going to have to pull off a big one on tomorrow night to split. Other than that, Loudonville.
Thursday is that match. Yes, sir.
Match.
You'll be there.
A T. It starts with a T. The day starts with a T. Tuesday, Thursday, whatever it is, but whatever.
It's okay.
It's this week. Northmore, they're bouncing back now. They're moving up.
That's
they're
where you're
tied
going to
with
be tomorrow, I
Loudonville,
believe.
10-9. I'll be
Yeah,
there
you'll
tomorrow.
be at the Castle
Yes.
tomorrow, yeah.
I flipped it around. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be at the Castle. Thursday I'll be at the KMAC Championship. But Northmore's been doing well. Loudonville, like I said, moving into the KMAC. Look at them. They're sitting in third. That's what I thought they'd be. The third, fourth best team in the KMAC coming in this year after what they've been running roughshod through the MBC all these past years. But
their only losses in the league are to Centerburg and Fredericktown right now, so they've taken care of business against everybody else. A little bit up and down when they've been in their non-conference portion of the season, but the Birds, they're a good fit here in the KMAC despite not belonging to the K or the M, but that's okay. We'll overlook it. They do belong to a county that starts with an A. Does that works?
I like your wording of that, but yeah, they fit in well, and I wish I wish Lucas would have been another team added in there too, but that'd make 9, and it'd just make things weird. But right now...
Yeah, there's no R for Richland County in that KMAC, Travis. It just doesn't work.
No.
Sorry.
Love the graphic, too. Shout out Adam Thompson for updating my KMAC graphic. It looks much nicer. Let's get to some stats.
Surprise me.
Surprise me? Oh, that's what you were doing. I'm like, okay, surprises. Assists. Let's do the assist leaders. Cally Carpenter from the Freddies of Fredericktown. We'll see her on Thursday night. 534 assists, 7.6 assists per set. Almost a third of the kills needed to get a win in a set coming from Cally Carpenter. Ella Vermillion of Loudonville, second 501. Lizzie Earlston, 410. Josie Dawes of Centerburg. Sedona Weisbrod of Centerburg. I love seeing multiple teammates on a list like this because that just opens up your offense. You know what I mean, Brian? It's just not one person. You see it going to one setter for most of these matches. Like, okay, it's going this way. But when you have multiple, it throws you off. You don't know which way the pass is going to go, things like that. So I like that. And then Alexis Longsdorf of Cardington sits at 5th. But very impressive number. Over 500 assists for 2 players. That's nuts.
Yeah, sharing is caring, but you can't get it done without the kills on the other end. Let's see who is leading the league right now. In the kill factory, it is spooky season, so love dropping that. Orndorf still at the top right now. Kill percentage, too, out of this world, as is Maya Bryant. So those two, I mean, they truly are some artists when they're up around the net. Great leaping ability and tremendous athleticism to have that type of percentage. Every time you swing, if you're getting the kill 42 or 44% of the time, you're getting it done, son.
That's why I always stress that in player spotlights. If it's up that far, almost half the time that they swing, it's
4 point.
nuts. It's nuts. 2 Trojans, 3 Freddies on this list. That's why they are at the top of the list. You get multiple players that can get the kill. Not only does it get you possibly a conference championship, but it gets you further in the tournament. That's why we see that with Monroeville every year. They have so many players that can get you a kill. It's the same here in the KMAC, and that's why Centerburg and Fredericktown probably favorites in their districts.
And last but not least, do we have the digs
2 more.
leaders?
We have
digs?
digs and blocks, but let's go to digs.
I can dig it. Ava Fawcett's.
East Knox. They're a good defensive squad.
All right.
4 of them in there.
Yeah, I see Mustaka joins her along with Winkler and Redmond. So they didn't save much room for anybody else. Kylie Whipple, Addison Wolford of Loudonville. And that to me, when I attend volleyball matches, what I am most impressed with are the girls that when it's slammed by those kill artists at 150 miles an hour, when they can softly just carom it off of their arms, or they can dive and somehow put it in a position where they can still get that bump set spike thing going on. I think that this is the most underrated part of volleyball that always just makes my jaw drop when I'm like, wow, they did it again.
Well, not only that, but when you dig it, you have to pass it towards that setter.
Sure.
So it's coming at 150 miles an hour, but you have to have that angle, everything ready to pass it, and these players are able to do so.
A lot going on there. All right, now the block party. The girls that are playing up at the net that make it tough for any opposing offense to score. And I mean, who's cooking these books? Because look at all these girls for EK again up at the top, and no question about it. Sid Opfer, we've seen this come in the last couple of years that she was going to have this type of performance, but 164 blocks, that means that she's involved on almost every single one for the team.
Yeah, and if you look at the assists, they're usually multiple players that get in there on the block. Opfer and Moore both 147 and 130 on the assists. Zoe Parker with 54, Redmond at 53, then Zoe Knight-Zell of Danville 48, Sophie Lee of Loudonville 47. Now these are all based off of max preps, which you're supposed to put your stats into max preps.
Yep.
So anybody yelling at me that somebody has blocks, we go off of max preps. Yell at them, not me, please. But right now, East Knox, like I said, good defensive squad. They just got to keep it inside the lines when they go on the offensive and try to get the kill.
So that is your volleyball report. Make sure you tune in live and free tomorrow, of course. Chaps will be over at the Castle. And then on Thursday, the big one,
KMAC
Fredericktown hosting Centerburg. The winner will take it all. Well, kind of. Fredericktown can tie for the KMAC Championship. A couple of other notes here, Travis, because at District Golf, Centerburg Boys Golf just 1 shot away from qualifying for state as a team. They were right there. They just needed to be 1 shot better. But Bennett Hill, how about a district champion, man?
70. Dude, 70.
How do you shoot a 70 at Turnberry when you're only 17 years old or 18 years old? I know he's a senior now. Like, come on, man. What a round. That's a round of a lifetime.
That's a round I will never shoot. I don't think I'll ever shoot a 70. Unless it's putt-putt.
Or on about 12 holes.
That's
just
true.
cut your round short.
You
can always walk off and say
rain
that
delay, rain out, something like that. But congratulations to them.
Kudos to them. And then Caitlin Miley as well, Northmore senior, missed out on state again by the smallest of margins. Just 1 shot kept her from going out there individually. Shot a 79 at the links at Echo Springs. So again, another round. I've been playing golf since I was 8 years old. I'm finna be 40 coming up here this next year. I've only shot in the 70s 3 times in my entire life.
0.
She just did it.
82.
Had a great
82
round.
Is my best score. So, yeah, she's already out there. And I've played golf all my life. You don't want to know what my regional score was, though, back 18 holes.
Ask. Hopefully there wasn't a 1 at the beginning.
Yes, there was.
That's okay.
It was way into the ones, but we'll just stop at that.
The Centerburg girls finished 4th in Division 2 as well. So, again, they only take 3 teams. Right on the doorstep.
They took 2.
Oh, 2. I'm sorry.
Still,
So they were very close, but just were not able to advance into the states. And then for cross country, we've got the KMAC Championships coming up on Saturday. We're going to have that live and free coverage for you guys. I'm going to be on the call. I'm going to try to get some people that really know about running to join me and drop some knowledge nuggets on you guys. But that's going to be going down at the Kokosing Reservoir. 2 big favorites, of course. I think individually we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. When you look at Will Baker of Mount Gilead, maybe the favorite to win the entire
ranked
state
runner. Yeah.
15:05. I watched him run at Seneca East. I can't unthink about that time when we've talked about it already on
yeah.
here. Your first mile is usually about the time that he's doing.
My first mile walking is still at 16:20. Like he's done. He's already recovered, had his little Gatorade shot, and he's walked back to the bleachers, and I'm still.
And takes his shoes off, too. I love that immediately. And Tess Schultz as well, still undefeated, the two-time All-Ohio, and soon to be 3 times. So those two are big favorites to win the individuals. And then as a unit, Mount Gilead, they're so deep from top to bottom. I mean, they're like the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It just goes on and on and on. They've got so many great runners. Most of them, though, are younger. They are a heavy favorite to win that KMAC championship. And you can watch it all go down again coming up
and even the state
on Saturday.
State ranked #1.